Okay, ready for my next interview now, and we had this gentleman on my show before, all the way calling from Australia. I want to introduce on my show Ziggy Alberts. How are we doing today, my friend?
Danny, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's good to be back. I'm doing good.
And yeah, last time we did an interview seems so long ago. You've been up to so many exciting things.
Yeah, it has been. It's been a crazy return to been a crazy return to music the last 6 months. Like, well, not that I ever stopped. I was, recording albums and the rest of it through the whole lockdown period. But yeah, to be kind of the launch back in the last 6 months to shows, so to speak, has been huge. Toured South Africa. I think since we last spoke, I've toured South Africa twice. I've went and toured with Jack Johnson and Oz, which was great. And now I'm actually calling you from Portugal. Just got here a couple of days ago, gearing up for the European and UK tour.
Nice, and we're going to mention that very shortly. But I just wanted to mention, like, you have a new album out as well. You have a new single out. The lead single is called "I'm Sorry." Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, it's one of our focus tracks off the album.
And still keeping the kind of stripped back vibes. Had a little wee listen to it, and kind of reminds me of Ed Sheeran in places.
Well, yeah, I mean he's a mega influence insofar as he's kind of paved the way for so many people, but he's such a classic. I don't know him personally, but in regards to what he's achieved as a solo artist, has kind of paved the way for all of us who've come after to be able to play solo. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty amazing because the rhetoric growing up, even as I started, was like, you can't, like, when are you going to get a band? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? So he definitely has done us immense favors. So shout out Ed,
And it's good,
for what he's
yeah.
done.
Sure, it's good to have like figures to look up to, like inspirations. At the same time, you are an original artist as well. You write your own stuff, and you have a new album out as well.
Yeah, this, I guess, Dancing in the Dark, I think I got told before interview it was my fifth studio album, and it very much is. I think it's at least my fifth studio album. I've been album heavy over the years, and yeah, Dancing in the Dark was, I guess, my second album through the lockdown period. I did one in 2020 called Searching for Freedom, and yeah, it's been so now I guess the focus is about touring these songs and seeing which ones sit live, and that's been really really exciting to see which songs have sprung to life. Like, one that comes to mind off the album is "The Sun and the Sea." That one has been a real pleasure to play live. I play it almost every night, and I'm playing "Dancing in the Dark," the actual title track, quite a bit too. And I'm actually playing it to backing tracks, which is the exact opposite to every other part of my show.
Mm.
And so that's really fun.
And Dancing in the Dark. Forgive like the pun. No connection with Bruce Springsteen at all.
No, obviously it's a nod to the big man, but I don't have any personal connection with the Bruce.
That's fine. And I know this album just took a little while longer to put together, but has the finished project been worth it in the end?
Yeah, I think that we all just in this crazy period, you did whatever you could to keep sane. I'm sure you felt the same, through the whole world lockdown
Mm.
situation. This one definitely, in some ways, like for example, the songs from this record, so much as did help me break into places like South Africa where I hadn't before, and some with Canada. I did a great collaboration with another artist for one of the songs. I mean, in Brazil, it's had a song called Rewinds had immense radio presence in Brazil. So like this album has been, I'd say, quite different in a way, like insofar as like the response and the impact. And that's not to say like better or worse. I would just say that it's been different. And I'd say like the way it's kind of impacted things has been, it's had a lot of radio presence in different regions that albums hadn't before. So it's a really intriguing album in that way.
Mm. And a few of the tracks on there, they're personally written by yourself for experiences.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Like pretty much, there's very few songs. There's only, I don't know how many songs there'd be in total. All of I think of all the songs I've released, they're probably I know close to 100 songs that have been released. I guess there's only probably one that I've ever written from a very third person perspective, you know.
Mm.
Otherwise, yeah, this album is so much centered in personal experience, particularly the focus track.
And you've got 10 great songs on there, if I stand correct. You always hear of artists, they have to put out more songs that they usually do to put the album together. So did you record more songs than you needed to for this album, and then kind of just gone with the best ones?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we recorded 12. You know, I think there was two more on there. One of them, which is actually one of them that never got released, called Reverie, which is like really killer as far as it's a great track, and the recording's fantastic. It just I'm glad that we've held off. I'm glad we've held that track for another time. It just didn't really fit it didn't fit the story in the end, you know. And there was another track on there that you just come to realize, I guess. I think I've done 14 track albums, and I think the shortest album that it could still be called an album, I think I did, was 8 or 9 tracks. And I think ten's a lovely number. I think you just have to see what tells the story and see how many songs you've already put out, you know.
Yes,
Um,
it's a nice round figure, isn't it? 10, nice 10.
it was the standard, actually. It was the standard for a record, for an LP. It was the standard before CDs came around, and then we could obviously start to manipulate and crush, I guess, the sound more in regards to vinyl. Vinyl, you know, 10. There's still today a it could be 22 a side. Don't quote me, but it could be 22 minutes a side is the preferred standard before you start essentially having to crush the quality of the vinyl. And so, for those intents and purposes that were very visceral, it's nice to try and keep within those parameters, because there was a reason. Sometimes there's no reason behind things, but with the tracks per side, so to speak, side A and side B, there was actually a reason. It's because you didn't want to take up too much space on the record, on the actual vinyl. And yeah, that's a nice sentiment, I think.
Very interesting. Also, I mentioned just slightly earlier on the interview, you are embarking on a European tour, say late April. You're here in the UK as well. You're also in my hometown of Birmingham on June the 10th as well, and you've got many other dates in the UK around that time. Can people check out your website for all your full tour dates?
Absolutely. I'm very pleased to say, yeah, people can head to ziggyalberts.com and they can find the full, for those listening, particularly the UK heavy audience. That's great to hear that I'm glad to hear we've got a show in your neighborhood. That's fantastic. The UK dates are super comprehensive and playing, you know, 10 plus dates, I think, through the UK. So hopefully I'm reaching everybody there and people can jump online and check the tours sold really well. So thanks to everybody who has already bought a ticket. I think the whole tour is like 80% sold, which is ridiculous. It's really, really fantastic. So I'm just looking forward to a great tour.
Well, that's great. Thanks for hopping on again to chat to me out your busy schedule today. And it's great that since we last talked, you know, everything's opened up, you know, and you know, no more kind of, you know, doing lockdown lives from home, and you know, you're being out on the road. Being out on the road again is good, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure everybody, as per the sentiment. You know, I was speaking to somebody else from Scotland earlier this morning in an interview, and you know, everyone, as per, I think the UK is, to be frank, I think is probably at least a year ahead from where Oz is at. You know, I think you guys, because of, I think we had the luxury, inverted commas, you know, to put it on the taxpayers' bill to keep the economy locked down, which was just kind of futile because everyone had to open at some point. And long story short, it feels like Europe and UK are way ahead of where we're at, particularly when it comes to music and entertainment. So, like, you know, I know how many Aussies right now are touring Europe, and we're all just so immensely pleased to be back on the scene, and the sort of support we're receiving from the people is just so immense. So I'm just, yeah, like it's gonna be such a killer run. I really can't wait to be I can't wait to be touring across the whole continent.
Right then, we're going to preview one of our tracks from your album for my listeners now. And I just want to say thanks again for hopping on. And Ziggy Alberts, all the best with this tour. All right.
Thank you, Dan. You take care, and hopefully I'll see you in Birmingham.